Chapter 1551. Tim, could you pass me mine, please? Zachary unzipped his backpack slightly, located his water bottle, and promptly slung it over his shoulder. The water bottle came with a shoulder strap, making it very convenient to carry. Gavin, Oliver, and Jesse each took their water bottles and hung them around their necks. I'll carry it for you, Jasper. Timothy offered to Jasper, who was still carrying the food in his bag. Thank you, Tim, Jasper responded with a chuckle. I'll take Mommy's. Zachary fetched another bottle, slinging it over his own shoulder. This way, Tim wouldn't have to struggle so much. Give Mommy's to me. Benjamin reached out his hand. Here, take it, Zachary said cheerfully, passing Marissa's water bottle over to him. Suddenly, all the water bottles had been distributed, and Tim no longer needed to carry such a heavy backpack. Guided by Benjamin, they purchased their tickets, and the family finally entered the zoo to admire the animals. Mommy, let's go see the giant pandas. The little ones could hardly contain their excitement. They gathered around Arissa, eager to see the giant pandas as soon as possible. They all had a special fondness for them. Arissa looked at them with amusement. Did you come to the zoo just to see the giant pandas? Aren't you going to look at the other animals? Mommy, we only have the afternoon left. If we don't go see the pandas soon, they'll be off duty. Zachary reminded Arissa, emphasizing that there were so many pandas to see. As for the other animals, it didn't really matter whether they saw them or not. But the pandas are at the very end. Wouldn't it be a shame if you didn't see the other animals along the way? Arissa teased them. We can definitely see the pandas. The zoo doesn't close until 6 o'clock. But, Mommy, we want to see the giant pandas a bit longer. Jessie anxiously began to shake her arm. Arissa smiled. All right, let's go see the pandas first. How about this? Why don't you take the zoo's cable car ahead? Your daddy and I will follow behind. She was in a wheelchair, which made it inconvenient for her to take the cable car with them. Mommy, are you and Daddy planning to walk? Gavin looked at the two of them. The zoo is quite large. It would take you an hour just to walk in. By then, you would miss a lot of the panda activities. Arissa smiled, turning to Benjamin. Shall we take the cable car? Benjamin looked down at her, seeking her opinion. Would you like to sit? Or would you prefer to walk in? The environment of the zoo was quite pleasant, and one could also take a stroll to observe the other small animals. I'd love to sit. It's just that using a wheelchair is inconvenient. Arissa chuckled. If it weren't for the wheelchair, she would definitely be with the children. This issue was easily resolved. Benjamin instructed the bodyguard to bring in the wheelchair. Accompanied by the mother and her 6 children, they took the cable car to enter the panda enclosure. Wow, it's so beautiful. There's a peacock over there. Look over there. There's a baby tiger. Is that a big tiger nearby? They're sleeping. Hey, do you think the pandas are also sleeping? They should be awake by now. The 6 little ones huddled together, their tiny heads close, watching the animals outside and chattering away excitedly. Arissa watched the children, their innocence and liveliness radiating from them, a fond smile spreading across her face. When you arrive at the panda enclosure, you mustn't be so noisy. Pandas prefer tranquility. They don't like noise. Mommy, we understand. The little ones turned around one after another, responding to her. Arissa gave a comforting smile, also looking down at the scenery of the zoo. She turned to Benjamin, beside her and said, the view here is quite pleasant, isn't it? Indeed, not bad at all, Benjamin replied, wrapping his arm around her as they both admired the scenery outside. It seems larger than before. I don't recall there being a leopard enclosure. Arissa pointed toward a spot not far away. Chapter 1552. Benjamin glanced at the leopard enclosure, unsure if it had been expanded. He had never paid much attention to such matters. Regardless of his knowledge, Arissa was enjoying the zoo with the children. Their cable car moved swiftly, reaching the innermost panda enclosure in less than 10 minutes. We've arrived. The little ones couldn't contain their excitement and cheered joyfully. Mommy, we're here. Jess's eyes squinted in delight as she turned to tell Arissa. Right. Arissa nodded. We'll see the big pandas soon. Remember not to make too much noise when we get there. We don't want to scare them." The little girl nodded. "I understand, Mommy. I'll speak softly." Jesse lowered his voice to assure her. Amused, Orissa gently stroked her hair. The cable car stopped, and Benjamin stumbled out. He first carried all 6 children before holding Orissa in his arms. "I'll do it myself." Orissa moved to the door, holding Benjamin's arm as she stepped off the cable car. "Slow down," Benjamin cautioned her, carefully watching her steps. Orissa chuckled, glancing at him. "Can you stop being so nervous?" Helplessly, Benjamin sighed. "I wish I could relax, but I can't control it." Orissa smiled sweetly. "I can't handle you. Let's go down." She called out to the children, and the whole family took the elevator down. Once they reached the ground floor, the bodyguard's wheelchair hadn't arrived yet. Benjamin looked at the exhibition hall's location and discussed it with the kids. "Let's wait for your mommy's wheelchair before going in." "All right." The little ones had no objections. Instead, they were concerned about Orissa's health and showed their care for their mother. Orissa smiled and said, "If you can't wait, you can go in and take a look first, as long as you don't run around. We'll go in together later." Benjamin told her, not comfortable with the children going in by themselves. He wanted to watch over them and ensure their safety. "Mommy, it's okay. We just have to wait a little longer." Gavin reassured her with a tender voice, noticing that his younger siblings weren't fussing about going in. Orissa looked at the little ones with a fond smile. "All right, then, let's go in together soon." "Wow, a peacock." The little girl noticed a male peacock perched on a tree branch and excitedly called for everyone to look. "So beautiful." Timothy's eyes were wide open, not even blinking as he watched the peacock in awe. "Look, it's fanning out its feathers. I need to capture this." Jasper quickly pulled out his phone to take a picture. Orissa was surprised, looking at the peacock on display. "Isn't this the panda exhibit? Why is there a peacock here? Wasn't it in front the last time we came?" "The peacock isn't confined. It can fly here," Benjamin said, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips. "Tech, the peacock has flown down," Oliver joyfully exclaimed. Other visitors in the zoo also took out their phones to capture the moment when they saw the peacock fanning out its feathers. "It's quite a showman, a 360-degree exhibition." Zachary chuckled. At that moment, the bodyguard brought over Orissa's wheelchair. They had arrived in a small bus from the park, which was somewhat slower than the cable car. "Mr. Graham, Mrs. Graham." The bodyguard quickly set up the wheelchair, alerting Benjamin and Orissa. "Get on, I'll push you in," Benjamin said, pulling Orissa's arm to help her sit down. Orissa took a seat. Noticing the children's interest in the peacock, she suggested, "Let's watch the peacock a little longer." After indulging their children in watching the peacocks, the couple proceeded to the panda enclosure. At this point, the big pandas had awakened from their afternoon nap and were in the midst of their feeding session. "Hi, hello there, Big Panda." The 6 little ones were brimming with excitement, each of them pressing their faces against the glass. Their eyes fixated on the adorable big panda inside without even blinking. They greeted it in hushed whispers. Chapter 1553. Upon seeing the black and white furballs, Orissa was completely captivated. Watching them eat was a source of stress relief for her, and she found them incredibly adorable. It was as if there was a living being inside them, intelligent and adorable. Whether in moments of tranquility or during lively activities, they were irresistibly captivating. Benjamin observed the children, their eyes wide and unblinking, and let out a soft chuckle. He picked up his phone and began taking pictures of them, naturally capturing a few shots of the giant pandas as well. The children pressed themselves against the glass, watching the giant panda eat intently, quietly sharing their joy. "They're so adorable. They can even hold bamboo with their feet. They're even better at spitting out shells than I am." Hee hee, the one in the middle ate so quickly that it went off to snatch food from the other giant pandas. Orissa chuckled, suddenly remembering someone. She turned to look at Benjamin, noticing that he wasn't as excited as they were. "Aren't these little cuties just adorably soft? Don't be fooled by their cuteness. They are fierce creatures." Benjamin warned her not to be deceived by the appearance of those animals. Orissa's lips twitched slightly. I know they are creatures, but that doesn't diminish their cuteness. Besides, foster parents can still approach them, just like the wolves you raise. They only attack strangers. Benjamin gently patted her head. You're right. There are quite a few pandas up ahead. Would you like to go further in to see them? I haven't had enough of these few. Orissa turned her head back, not wasting time in idle chatter with him, instead focusing intently on the adorable animals. Why isn't it eating anymore? Timothy stared at the one that walked away, finding it very strange. Is it full? Zachary asked, her eyes darting around animatedly. Suddenly, she exclaimed with delight, it's climbing the tree so fast. It's such a skilled climber. Gavin said with a chuckle, even more excited than they were. He had never been to such crowded places before, but he could finally go anywhere with his younger brothers and sisters. It was truly a blessing. Wow, Timothy exclaimed softly, it almost fell. Don't worry, it's not easy for a giant panda to get hurt from a fall. Their fur is incredibly thick, Oliver said with a laugh. It would be wonderful if I could keep one. Jasper expressed his deepest desire. I want one too. Jesse chuckled, already lost in his daydreams. Orissa chuckled. These are rare and protected animals. They can't be kept as pets. Although the children were aware of this, they couldn't help but feel a sense of regret. They had all grown fond of such adorable animals. You can adopt, Benjamin interjected, his hands resting on the back of Orissa's wheelchair. Orissa turned to look at him, smiling as she asked, can I adopt? Benjamin nodded, adding, for adoption, all you need to do is pay the fee. Once adopted, they don't need to go anywhere else and can live at the base. The adopter is not allowed to take them home. Orissa sighed, if only I could take one home. Benjamin glanced at her. Perhaps, once they multiply further, it may not be impossible. Hopefully, Orissa felt that achieving that day would be incredibly challenging. The children also sighed. If we can't raise them, we can't raise them, but we can still adopt, right? Mr. Graham, can we adopt one of them? Zachary spoke, hinting at a desire to adopt a baby panda. He thought that he could frequently visit them in the future. Sure, as long as the adoption fee is paid. Benjamin clarified to his son, $1 million for lifetime adoption, or $100,000 per year for short term. Are you sure you want to adopt? The 6 children looked at him, exchanged glances among themselves, and then started whispering questions about Oliver. How much money do we have? Is it enough to support 6 of them? Oliver glanced at them, murmuring, everyone can raise 6 without any issues. After all, not too long ago, Benjamin had given each of them a bank card, and there was a substantial amount of money inside. Then I'll raise 6. Jasper was the first to speak up, fearing that he would miss his chance if they were taken away. Chapter 1554. Orissa observed the children, who were usually frugal, and was pleasantly surprised to see their generosity when it came to adopting a panda. She found it quite heartening. All right, decide how many you want to adopt and contact the base when the time comes. For now, let's focus on observing the pandas. Okay, the 6 children were delighted. Their spirits remained high throughout. After thoroughly enjoying watching the giant panda eat, they continued to observe the other pandas. Some were sleeping, some were playing, and some were even fighting. These black and white furballs were just like humans, captivating to the point where it was hard to look away. The 6 children not only took photos but also recorded a significant number of videos, which they shared on their social media circles and short video platforms. Benjamin took a group photo with the mother and her children, all posing with the giant panda. They watched until the panda was taken away. Only then were the children willing to move. I was hoping to see the other animals earlier, but it seems they've all returned to their shelters now, Orissa said with a smile. However, seeing the children so happy made it all worthwhile. At least she felt content watching those giant pandas. As for the other animals she didn't get to see, she could always visit them another time. Mommy, can we come back again this weekend? Jessie looked at Orissa with hopeful eyes, blinking expectantly. Orissa ruffled Jess's hair, smiling as she said, Of course, we'll come over when we have some free time. Mommy, do you have plans for the weekend? Gavin tilted his head, looking at her with surprise. Orissa chuckled, lifting her gaze to meet Benjamin. Benjamin was pushing her wheelchair, heading toward the entrance of the zoo. The children were following them, creating a rare and heartwarming scene. As the sun set at an angle, a gentle breeze blew. At that time, there were fewer visitors at the zoo, and the calls of the birds could be heard clearly. Come again next weekend when you're free, Benjamin promised the children. The children were overjoyed, cheering and high-fiving each other. Zachary reminded Benjamin once again, Mr. Graham, you must keep your word. I will. Benjamin nodded. He dared not deceive them. Orissa chuckled, teasing the children, are you happy now? I am. The children exclaimed in unison, their voices filled with exceptional joy. Watch your step, Benjamin cautioned the children, gently nudging Orissa as they all made their way out of the zoo. The scenery at dusk was quite pleasant. The children were hopping around, glancing at the other venues as they made their way toward the entrance. Orissa sat in the wheelchair, moving effortlessly. Slow down, have some water. She reminded the children, smiling as she watched them. Do you want something to drink? Benjamin asked her, bending over. It had been a while since she last had a drink. If I'm drinking, I'll do it myself. Orissa retorted, turning back to respond to him. She already needed to use the restroom. Should we go home or eat out? Benjamin looked down at her and countered, do you want to eat out? Orissa chuckled, anywhere is fine. I just need to use the restroom. If we're eating out, I'll go after we get to the restaurant. The zoo has restrooms right here. Let me take you, Benjamin said, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Orissa felt a bit embarrassed but decided it would be best to use the restroom there. Otherwise, she would be uncomfortable if she urgently needed to pee on the road. Gavin, I'm taking your mom to the restroom. Do you all want to come? Benjamin called out to the children, informing them. Let's go too. The children were quite eager, following them. Benjamin instructed his bodyguards to escort them to the men's restroom while he himself pushed Orissa toward the women's restroom. At that time, there were hardly any tourists around. Given that it was almost dark, there was hardly anyone near the restroom. I'll walk you in, Benjamin said to Orissa. No need. Jesse and I can go in by ourselves. You should go ahead and take care of your own business. If you come in with us and we run into someone else, it could lead to misunderstandings. Orissa told him, asking him to stop. I will take good care of Mommy. Jesse looked up, promising Benjamin. Benjamin chuckled, gently ruffling Jess's hair. Then you help Mommy a bit. Be careful not to let her fall. I will be waiting here for you too. Orissa glanced at him. Go ahead. I'll wait for you to come out. Benjamin lifted his chin, signaling Orissa and his daughter to go ahead. He stayed behind to bolster their courage. Orissa smiled, then took her daughter inside to use the restroom. Chapter 1555. Mommy, please be careful. Jesse watched Orissa attentively, even reminding her to be cautious. Orissa smiled softly and responded gently, I know. You should also take care. Orissa allowed her daughter to use the restroom first. Then she flushed the toilet and called out, Jesse, it's your turn. Mommy, don't you need to go? You can go first. I'll wait for you. Jessie wasn't in a rush. She was worried that her mother couldn't hold it in. All right then, I'll go first. Orissa glanced into the restroom. It was fairly empty, but fearing that Jessie might be scared, she decided to take her along inside. Jessie looked at her and asked, Mommy, are you scared? Orissa's lips twitched slightly. She replied with a smile, Mommy is worried that you may be scared. Are you brave enough to be alone outside? With a mischievous grin, Jessie narrowed her eyes. Isn't Mr. Graham outside? I'm not scared. Although, staying here with Mommy is also fine. Orissa was speechless. She quickly finished using the restroom and hurriedly let the young girl use it. Mommy, I'm ready. Jessie was quick, even managing to flush the toilet. Let's go, we're heading out. Orissa grabbed Jess's hand. Jessie glanced at her. Mommy, watch out for the floor. Understood. Orissa said with a smile as she glanced at the young girl, leading her out to wash their hands. With his back to the bathroom door, Benjamin was on the phone. Not many people know about this matter, right? After Arissa and Jesse had finished washing their hands, they came out to find him on the phone. They glanced over curiously. Mommy, they're out. The sharp-eyed little girl noticed Gavin and his group emerging and ran over to them. Arissa followed Jess's figure, trailing behind her. Upon seeing the children, she smiled. Wait for me in the wheelchair. I'll be out shortly. Benjamin put away his phone, walked over to Arissa, and softly said to her. Oh, Arissa turned to look at him, noticing that Benjamin's handsome face was tense. Who had he been talking to on the phone just now, and what had happened again? At that moment, the children came over, reminding her to sit down. Left with no choice, she settled herself into the wheelchair. Mommy, let us take you out. Zachary stood behind the wheelchair, and the other children also gathered around, pushing her. Hold on, your father hasn't come out yet. Arissa reminded them, waiting for Benjamin. Dad is a grown man. We don't need to wait for him here. We can wait outside where the air is better. Gavin said, pushing the wheelchair towards the outdoors. Arissa was caught between laughter and tears, feeling helpless. She was sitting in a wheelchair, being held hostage by the children. All right, we'll wait for your father right here. She pointed to the side of the road. The children were quite cooperative, pushing her to the roadside to wait for Benjamin. A few minutes passed, and Benjamin emerged, muttering, "None of you waited for me." The children narrowed their eyes in laughter, brimming with pride. The air inside wasn't good. We came out to make Mommy more comfortable. Arissa was speechless. She glanced at the children, then said to Benjamin, I told them I would wait for you inside, but they insisted on bringing me out. I was practically held hostage by them. She had no control over her movement. Let's go. Benjamin glanced at them, taking over to push Arissa. Arissa glanced at him, noticing that his expression was more normal than before he had gone to the restroom, which put her at ease. Where shall we go for dinner? It's up to you. Benjamin casually chatted with her. Upon hearing that, the children gathered around them. Mommy, let's eat out. We haven't eaten out in such a long time. Arissa looked at the eager faces of the children and smiled. What would you all like to eat? When the children heard her question, their eyes lit up considerably. Mommy, can we eat anything we want? Jasper asked, her eyes wide open with anticipation. Chapter 1556. The child whispered quietly into Arissa's ear, causing her to chuckle. Do you all want to eat that, or just one of you? She asked with a playful smile, looking at the children. She herself was feeling a bit hungry, but she wasn't sure if Benjamin would agree to go. We all want to eat. Jasper affirmed with a decisive nod, then turned to his brothers and asked, Isn't that right? Indeed. Gavin, Timothy, Zachary, and Oliver all nodded in agreement. Although Jessie didn't know what her older brothers had chosen to eat, she trusted their judgment completely. Nodding in agreement, she took Arissa's hand and pleaded in a sweet manner, Mommy, let's go eat. Arissa glanced at them and smiled. She really wanted to agree, but she still needed Benjamin's approval. The children want to go eat pasta. What do you think? The 6 children eagerly looked at Benjamin. Benjamin glanced back at them and asked, Is this what all of you want? The children nodded vigorously. Yes. Do you want to eat as well? Benjamin casually asked Arissa without much thought. I do. Arissa maintained a calm demeanor, not showing any weakness. All right, let's go eat pasta. Benjamin agreed, nodding. The children were overjoyed and even gave each other high fives. Mr. Graham, you're so kind. You've earned extra points, Jasper cheerfully said to Benjamin. A twitch occurred at the corner of Benjamin's mouth. So, agreeing to take them out for pasta earns me points. How many points? Jasper chuckled, his eyes narrowing in amusement as he looked at his brothers. Finally, Gavin held up 5 fingers. 5 points. Benjamin frowned and playfully teased them. Does that mean each of you will give me 1 point? Here's another point for you, including the one from Mommy. 7 points should be enough, right? Zachary said, his lips curving into a mischievous smile. He wasn't sure if his dad would change his mind and leave, once they arrived at the pasta place. The family got into the car and headed towards their destination. The children had already researched where to find the best blue cheese pasta and took charge of directing the driver along the way. Upon reaching the storefront, Benjamin gazed at the unassuming shop. The signboard above read, "Blue Cheese Pasta," in bold letters. His brows furrowed as he turned to the children and asked, "Is this the place you mentioned for pasta?" "Yep, the blue cheese pasta here is incredibly delicious. The children from school even bragged about it to us. We've never had it, and they all laughed at us," Oliver said with a serious expression. Orissa affectionately patted her son's head. "Today, we will try it. It's nothing special. Let's go in." Orissa looked at Benjamin, her eyes filled with anticipation. Faced with the expectant gazes of the mother and her children, Benjamin found himself unable to refuse. He could only nod in agreement. As soon as he stepped into the shop, he was hit by a foul smell. He pinched his nose and immediately turned to leave. "Honey," Orissa turned her head to look at him, feeling a pang of sadness. "Mommy, you're not going to change your mind and not take us to eat, are you?" Gavin asked nervously. Although he also thought it smelled a bit, he wasn't as repulsed after Zachary had explained it to them. He had been looking forward to it. If he didn't like the taste, he could choose not to eat the chunks of blue cheese. "No way. You guys go ahead and order. I want to eat too. Don't worry about your dad." Orissa shifted her gaze, found a spot with the kids to sit down, and started ordering blue cheese pasta. She hadn't had it in a long time, and just the smell alone made her mouth water. She was craving it. The children were overjoyed, eagerly choosing their favorite dishes from the menu. Benjamin was outside. It took him a while to catch his breath. Seeing the 7 of them, mother and children, happily enjoying themselves inside, he frowned, his handsome face tense with discomfort. "Mr. Graham, are you all right?" The bodyguard looked at Benjamin's distressed state, feeling sympathetic. Benjamin waved his hand dismissively, his face sour with discomfort. He still felt a bit queasy in his stomach. "Actually, this blue cheese pasta is quite tasty. It's just that the sauerkraut is a bit smelly. Once you get used to it, it's not a big deal." The bodyguard, upon meeting Benjamin's gaze, dared not continue speaking. He quietly turned around and walked away. Chapter 1557. "Boss, please don't add too much cured meat to mine. I'll add the condiments myself later." Orissa reminded the boss of her order. Although she had a craving for this food, she had to resist for the sake of the little one in her belly. She couldn't indulge too much. "Sure, please wait a moment." The owner was surprised when he saw 6 children of the same size accompanying Orissa. They all looked remarkably similar, which was quite mesmerizing. Orissa had to remind him to snap out of it, and he quickly went to prepare their orders. Orissa nodded with a smile before turning to look outside the shop. She told the kids, "Sit here and wait. Let me go check on Daddy." The 6 little ones nodded obediently. Now that they had placed their orders, they weren't worried that Benjamin wouldn't feed them. Instead of heading out to find Benjamin, they stayed inside the restaurant, patiently waiting for their food. Orissa walked out of the shop and approached the man. Benjamin furrowed his brow, slightly bothered by the aroma lingering in the air. "Are you okay?" Orissa glanced at him, suppressing a smile. Benjamin turned around, meeting her gaze. It was clear she was holding back her laughter. "Do I look okay to you?" Orissa chuckled before she could respond, but Benjamin interrupted her with a reproachful tone. "Did you agree to bring the kids to this place?" Hey, Benjamin, don't put all the blame on me. It was clearly you who agreed to bring them here. Besides, what's wrong with this place? The food is delicious. If you don't want to eat, at least let others enjoy it," Orissa retorted, not willing to yield to him. The bodyguards discreetly turned away to look elsewhere. Benjamin frowned. "If I had known we were coming here for this kind of food, I wouldn't have brought you here." Orissa felt a bit guilty as she indeed didn't specify the type of food when she told him to come here. "We're already here, and we've placed our orders. It would be a waste not to eat. If you don't want to go in, find another place to eat. I'll stay here with the kids." Benjamin glared at her, utterly exasperated, "You should come with me to eat somewhere else and let them stay here." Orissa widened her eyes, finding him overbearing. "But I want to eat this. How about you wait for us in the car? We'll eat quickly and then head home, and you can eat then." She hastily entered the store after leaving these words behind, fearing that Benjamin might actually take her away. Benjamin was exasperated as he pressed his lips. As soon as Orissa entered, the blue cheese pasta was served. Each of the little ones had a large plate in front of them, exuding a particularly enticing aroma. "Mommy, we'll start eating now." "Sure, go ahead. I'll join you soon. Be careful not to burn yourselves," Orissa replied with a smile. The owner brought her pasta over. "Are these all your children?" "Ah, yes," Orissa nodded with a smile. "You are so productive, and they're all so adorable," the owner praised. Orissa gave an awkward laugh as she too hadn't expected herself to be so fertile. "Eat up. It's delicious while hot. Feel free to add any condiments." The owner greeted them before hurrying away. "Mommy, aren't you going to add Parmesan cheese?" Zachary glanced at Orissa's bowl, which was rather bland. "I'll add a bit more." Orissa took some Parmesan cheese from the side and added it to her pasta. After giving it a stir, she was about to start eating when someone sat down next to her. She turned to see Benjamin wearing a mask, looking displeased. She swallowed nervously. "Do you want to eat?" Benjamin glanced at her. "No." Orissa rolled her eyes and muttered, "If you don't want to eat, why bother coming in? If the smell bothers you, you could wait outside for us. Don't suffer through it by coming in yourself." Benjamin stared at her with a powerful aura. The youngsters glanced at the formidable Benjamin and ate their blue cheese pasta quietly. Orissa gave Benjamin a sheepish smile, then lowered her head to eat her own food. Chapter 1558. Even wearing a mask, Benjamin couldn't tolerate the smell, and his brows furrowed. He sat there without eating, and his intimidating presence filled the air, making the other customers uneasy. They quickly finished their meals and left. Even the customers who had just entered to place orders sensed the awkward atmosphere. Seeing Benjamin's intimidating demeanor, they were frightened and hesitated to continue ordering. Orissa noticed this and felt apologetic towards the owner. She gently nudged Benjamin with her arm. "Why don't you wait for us in the car? You've scared away all their customers." Benjamin's brows furrowed tightly as he stared at her in silence, not saying a word. The corner of Orissa's mouth twitched slightly, and she decided to let it go. If he refused to leave, then they would just have to eat faster. "Sweethearts, eat quickly," she urged the children, hoping to finish the meal and leave soon, so as not to disrupt the restaurant owner's business. Gavin looked at Benjamin and muttered, "Dad, if you're not eating, stop scaring people away." Benjamin gave him a stern look. Zachary, Timothy, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse glanced at Benjamin sneakily, then quickly looked away, focusing on slurping their blue cheese pasta and making loud noises in the process. Benjamin's brows furrowed even more. The bodyguards stood outside, their mouths watering at the enticing aroma, yet they didn't dare to go in for a satisfying plate of blue cheese pasta because Benjamin was present. Why does Mr. Graham have to endure this? He dislikes the smell, yet he willingly goes in. Peter couldn't help but complain to the others. Isn't it because he cares a lot about Mrs. Graham? Miguel chuckled. "Stop gossiping. Be careful or Mr. Graham might overhear you. Don't come to me for mercy." The head of the bodyguards warned them as they started gossiping about their employer. Everyone sobered up and stood straight, keeping an eye on their surroundings. Orissa quickly finished the large plate of blue cheese pasta. Satisfied, she let out a burp. Seeing that the children hadn't finished yet, she urged, "Hurry up." Benjamin handed her a tissue to wipe her mouth. Orissa glanced at his somewhat displeased face, smiled ingratiatingly, and said, "Darling, should we go outside and wait for the children?" "Let's wait for them." Benjamin glanced at her and noticed she was still hiccuping. He poured her a glass of water. "Drink some water." Upon seeing his discomfort, Orissa felt a mix of admiration and concern. "If you're worried about them, I'll wait here for them, and you can go out first." Benjamin gently patted her back, helping her burp. "No need to talk if you're hiccuping." Orissa obediently kept quiet. The children were also well behaved, finishing their blue cheese pasta quickly, not leaving a single drop of soup. Even Timothy had emptied his plate. It was clear how much the kids enjoyed the dish. Benjamin glanced at them and instructed, "Wipe your mouths." He then got up to settle the bill. Orissa watched him skillfully scan the QR code to pay, feeling a bit sentimental. He was becoming more down to earth. If he had joined them for the blue cheese pasta, he would have been even more down to earth. When Benjamin returned, he met her eyes, filled with laughter, and playfully rubbed her nose. "What are you smiling at?" Orissa grinned. "Darling, it would be even more delightful if you joined us in eating blue cheese pasta." "Want some? It will be my treat." "Thanks, but no thanks." Benjamin genuinely couldn't stomach this food, pulling her out. "Let's go home." Orissa chuckled, turning back to call out to the children, "Sweethearts, let's go." "Thank you, sir and ma'am. You make really delicious blue cheese pasta." The kids praised the store owners before following Benjamin and Orissa to leave. "If you find it delicious, come back often." The shopkeeper cheerfully watched them leave, finding such adorable children truly a rare sight to behold. Chapter 1559. The family got into the car and headed straight back to the Graham residence. The 6 little ones, having satisfied their appetites, nestled in their seats, content and full. Orissa, too, had eaten her fill and leaned back in her seat. No one spoke. She glanced at the man beside her, noticing that he still wore a mask. She couldn't help but smile. "Why are you still wearing a mask? Isn't it uncomfortable?" She poked the man's arm, giving him a gentle reminder. Benjamin gave her a glance but didn't remove the mask. "It's even more uncomfortable without it." Orissa secretly rolled her eyes. He was blaming them for the smell. "Are you all full?" Benjamin looked at the 7 of them, each with a lazy expression. "We're full, but it's not enough." Gavin pouted, expressing dissatisfaction. He cast a meaningful glance at Benjamin, batting his long, fluttering eyelashes, which were so attractive that one couldn't help but look a little longer. Orissa smiled, raising her hand to pat her son's head. "Not enough. We'll come back for more next time. Daddy, will you agree?" Gavin deliberately looked at Benjamin without blinking his eyes. Benjamin's face darkened, and he said in a low voice, "You all should eat less of this stuff in the future." Gavin snorted and turned his head to look elsewhere, presenting the back of his head to Benjamin. Benjamin was speechless. Zachary glanced at Benjamin's sullen expression and chuckled quietly. "I was thinking of giving you extra points, but considering your performance, let's forget about it." Benjamin didn't like the smell of blue cheese pasta, yet he still entered the shop to accompany them. His bravery was commendable. However, now that he was forbidding them from eating it in the future, it was a bit disappointing. Anyone who was restricted from eating what they enjoyed would undoubtedly be upset. "You might as well not say it." Benjamin glanced at the little one who knew how to get under his skin. Zachary smirked. "I'm just telling you to give you a direction for improvement in the future." Orissa laughed out loud, giving the man a teasing look. "See how much Zachary is helping you. Don't disappoint them in the future." The corner of Benjamin's mouth twitched as he pinched her cheek. "It's already good enough that he isn't setting traps for me. If you're not grateful, then forget it." Zachary stuck out his tongue at Benjamin and turned his head, presenting the back of his head to him too. Benjamin looked at the 2 identical brothers, utterly speechless. "Will you eat at home?" Orissa asked him. Changing the plan to eat outside was still an option. Benjamin raised his eyebrows and asked her, "Do you want to eat outside?" Orissa's eyes curved in amusement. "I'm already full and can't eat any more. I'm asking you." Benjamin lightly huffed. "I'll eat when we get home." Orissa glanced at him. "I'll call home and see if Edwin has prepared dinner." Usually at this time, dinner would have already been served at home. "No need to call, let's talk about it when we get home." Benjamin currently had no appetite. The sensation was overwhelming, as if the taste had invaded his stomach and nostrils. It was incredibly intense. Orissa glanced at the man's distressed appearance, then turned her head and chuckled softly. Upon seeing her stifling a laugh, the children couldn't help but break into smiles. Benjamin narrowed his eyes, his gaze shifting back and forth between the mother and son. Orissa felt the intense pressure and quickly restrained herself, turning around to face a certain someone. "Why are you staring at us like that? You're going to frighten the children," she reminded him solemnly. Benjamin leaned down to her ear and asked in a low voice, "Were you laughing at me just now?" "No way," Orissa exclaimed, her eyes wide open, looking at him with an innocent expression. Benjamin pursed his lips, deciding not to expose her. He said in a muffled voice, "Laugh if you want. Otherwise, people might think I'm too overbearing." Orissa silently laughed and coughed. "You know you're overbearing, huh?" Benjamin met her eyes filled with a teasing smile and retorted, "Am I usually overbearing?" Chapter 1560. Look at you now, isn't this the epitome of dominance? You've even scared Mommy into silence. Jessie complained. Both Gavin and Timothy didn't want to talk to him. Zachary and Oliver were less talkative, so Jessie was the only one who dared to confront Benjamin. Benjamin glanced at the little ones, each seemed determined not to please him. Orissa chuckled. "It's not just me who thinks you're overbearing. The kids feel the same way too." Benjamin let out a soft hum, pausing for a moment before he quietly asked Orissa, "Do you dislike me being overbearing?" Orissa smiled wryly. Who would like an overbearing person? Sometimes, he was completely unreasonable. "I'll pay attention in the future. If I'm overbearing, remind me," Benjamin humbly pledged. Orissa smiled, not saying anything to him. He had said these words before. Compared to when she first met him, he had changed a lot. "You've changed a lot," she exclaimed. Benjamin raised an eyebrow, unable to suppress a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth upon receiving her compliment. The little ones watched as Benjamin's gaze intensely fixed on Orissa, and they couldn't help but giggle. The look in their father's eyes was becoming increasingly tender. Upon returning home, Orissa and the little ones were ordered by Benjamin to take a bath. Orissa was both amused and exasperated, but she had no choice but to lead the children upstairs to bathe. Of course, the moment her foot touched the ground, she was swept off her feet and carried upstairs by a certain someone. "Go ahead and eat. I can take the kids upstairs," Orissa reminded him, her arms wrapped around his neck. They had all eaten blue cheese pasta, so they weren't hungry. But it was different for him as he hadn't eaten anything. If he didn't eat on time, his stomach would start acting up again. "I'll bathe too." Benjamin looked down at her. His body was covered with the smell, and he felt uncomfortable without a shower. Orissa looked at his handsome yet somewhat upset face and couldn't help but chuckle. Darius, Mary, and the others were having dinner in the dining room. Seeing them return, they called out, "Why are you back so early? Have you eaten? Go and eat." "Dad, Grandaunt, we've eaten, but Benjamin hasn't eaten yet. He'll eat after a shower. You go ahead," Orissa replied to the elders, and Benjamin carried her up. "Grandpa, we had blue cheese pasta outside. We're going to take a bath. You and Great-Grandaunt can eat first, and we'll come down to play with you later." Gavin also informed Darius before leading his siblings upstairs to shower. Otherwise, it would be terrifying if his father were to lose his temper. "Sure, off you go." Darius smiled and reminded them, "Edwin has made a lot of dishes. Come down later and have some with us." "Got it, Grandpa." The 6 little ones responded and followed Benjamin upstairs to shower. Upon returning to the bedroom, Orissa suggested that Benjamin should take the first shower, but he refused. "It saves time if we do it together." Benjamin carried her into the bathroom. Orissa's lips twitched slightly. "Dad and the others are eating downstairs. You should quickly wash up and join them for dinner. Otherwise, the food will get cold and it won't taste good. You should also eat something later." Benjamin put her down and adjusted the water temperature. "I'm not hungry anymore." Orissa looked at him. The portion of the blue cheese pasta was quite big. "Have some vegetables. What kind of nutrition can you get from eating that thing?" Benjamin expressed with a face full of disdain. Orissa chuckled. "What do you mean by that thing? It's a type of food too. Take a shower now," commanded Benjamin. Orissa glanced at the assertive man, a curve forming at the corner of her mouth. "Understood." After both had taken a shower, they went downstairs. The kids were already sitting at the dining table, eating with the elders. You guys aren't full yet? Orissa asked with a smile. They were all devouring the food as if they hadn't eaten. Hee hee, Mr. Whitley's dishes are so delicious, Oliver said, wiping his glasses, which were fogged up. Take off your glasses. You can't see anything. Orissa patted her son's head, reminding him. Okay. Oliver removed his glasses and continued eating.